This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness, or so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. Hi, and welcome to the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with your host, David Charlton, and my colleague, Colm. Today is episode 7 of 8 of this short series where we're looking at various different case studies. And today, Colm and I are going to be discussing Olivia, a 12-year-old tennis player who, like a lot of tennis players and a lot of athletes across different sports, can get upset an awful lot when she makes mistakes. When there's bad calls in tennis as well, that can make her extremely grumpy and angry. Yeah, as well as the anger and the tantrums, shall we say, that tears can come across too. So, yeah, Colin, do you want to just talk a little bit about this scenario and I suppose the type of things Olivia is going to experience, what people are going to see, and then we'll dig into offering some sort of advice.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, David. And yeah, it seems like Olivia is kind of suffering what we'd kind of call in the business emotional control issues. So she's not accepting that mistakes will happen. We're all human beings. So I suppose we kind of have to accept that we have mistakes. But before kind of getting to that, the types of things that are happening with her is she's basically losing focus because she's becoming overwhelmed with strong emotion. And because tennis is such a fast-paced game and you can take a little time out for a water break and this type of thing, and they can be strategically used. You're back into it straight away, and you kind of need to get back into the flow rather than dwelling on a mistake, getting frustrated with the call of the umpire. These types of things they're in the past for a start. You need to stay present to play your best, and there's not a lot we can do about them. So we don't have control, and that loss of control over things that have occurred will just make this poor young lady, Olivia, more frustrated and angrier. So it's going to become a kind of downward spiral of her play. She's not going to get the results that she's looking for, and she kind of ends up kind of being regretful, tearful, and at the anger outbursts, at the tantrums in the moment, and then later on she's after regretting this. So it's something that she wants to change. So I suppose,
Sorry, I'll just jump in there. Yeah, one thing you mentioned there is about essentially her being stuck in the past. So for those who are watching this on YouTube, my little pen, which you can see there, you'll have you've got the past over here, present there, future across here, and yeah, you touched on the fact that ideally, yeah, you'd want to be in the present to perform at your best. But certainly the trap she's fallen into is, yeah, being overwhelmed by the emotions and being over here in the past. There might be a little bit of flip into the future and predicting what may well happen in the next point or the next game. But yeah, predominantly, as you say, like really dwelling on things, it seems like is the big problem for her.
yeah, and that's kind of where the focus has gone. The focus has gone from the present, what she needs to do in the next play, and dwelling on the past. Oh, how did I make that mistake? That was silly, or whatever these thoughts are that are running through her mind. And it can become kind of an emotional roller coaster. And then the more times you get on that roller coaster, the more, I suppose, entrenched, or the more kind of that's just the way that she does it. She doesn't have another way of doing it. So I suppose our job would be to shift her focus more to the present and what she can control. So something that we do all the time that we're not always paying attention to is breathing. So that's probably where I would start with this young woman, as when we're angry or when we're quite upset and when we've lost focus, we might be breathing shallow or fast, and not really taking a nice deep breath and recentering ourselves. So there's a couple of different techniques and a couple of different styles of breathing techniques, and it's probably finding one that will work. If it's a fast-paced sport like tennis is, box breathing can be helpful before or between sets. Whereas something like ratio breathing or just taking a deep diaphragmatic breath, as in we take it right into our belly, fill up our chest with air and just let it out. So trying a few different breathing techniques, finding something that works, and then practicing them, which is really important because when in the moment that she's focusing on the mistake, it can be hard to remember. So it's practicing using it more and more, finding what's effective, what's working, and basically building that into her game so that she can get out of this rut essentially and this reoccurrence of emotional dysregulation or basically becoming upset and angry. So that would be one powerful way.
I think there's two things that stand out to me from what you're saying there is with the issues around emotional control, the sympathetic nervous system is kicking in. And what you're doing there is by by focusing on breathing is you're helping the parasympathetic nervous system to take over and align itself there, which is basically going to help her free herself up essentially if we can drop those arousal levels, she can free herself up and get back to playing tennis in a nice rhythmical manner, I suppose. The other point I want to make though, links to the breathing where you said about practicing. So many people out there will they'll spend 2 minutes practicing breathing and then straight away, I can't do this. And that's it. They just give up, or they might try it in one match and they lose the match. And yeah, right. Again, it didn't work. So, but it just doesn't work like that. You've got to go in with the mindset, as you say, that you're going to practice it. And I suppose go in with looking at it like as a life skill that, I'm going to do 5 minutes a day here or 10 minutes a day. I'm going to incorporate it into my training, into my practices. And bit by bit, you can get really, really good at it. So see it as a skill, just like trying to improve your serving or your volleying would be my advice on that one.
Yeah, completely agree, David. It's like say if we take the tennis example, it's my first day playing tennis. I hit the net and I'm like, well, that doesn't work. I'm going to use a baseball bat instead. It's you do need to practice these techniques for you to feel comfortable using them, and then also practicing them before you need it, when you're nice and relaxed already, and then seeing more of the effect that we're looking for in this instance when that arousal level is up, seeing that come down. And a nice technique to use as well is to bring in some imagery of the person making a mistake, which is not the most fun imagery that people use and something that people kind of avoid using, but it can be one that you can use just to get that arousal level up a little bit and then practice using the breathing to bring it back down. Obviously, I won't advocate using too much negative imagery of making mistakes, but in this instance, it could be quite helpful just to get the person kind of used to, okay, there's a mistake happening. These thoughts are starting to go. I'll focus on my breath, and it brings it back to the present moment because we're breathing in the moment. So again, bring it from the past to the present and dropping those arousal levels and getting our systems ready to go again.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. That one is again, I suppose what you're doing there is you are helping that parasympathetic nervous system kick in by seeing yourself like intervening and doing it in more of a relaxed manner. Um, but again, people are a bit wary about actually picturing themselves making mistakes and seeing the difficult moments, often out of fear, really fear that by visualizing it means it's going to happen, and they just get in a cycle. But in reality, if you look at the top athletes, they do this. This is their at an unconscious level, looking at what plan B is, what plan C is, what plan D is, and how they can shift and change and handle those situations better. So no, great point there. I think I would add as a third point would be trying to find ways to slow things down, because often like when we're overwhelmed by our thoughts, by our emotions, we'll be rushing the serve, rushing the return, like our rhythm will speed up. So can you find little moments to slow down? So maybe at the end of a point, rather than walking straight back to where you need to be on the court, can you walk an extra 5 or 6 paces? And as you say, maybe use your breath, as a lot of tennis players do. If there's a towel at the back of the court, maybe wipe your brow with a towel, take a sip of water, whatever it is. But yeah, just slow it all down is key in my eyes. So yeah, look, we'll wrap it up with those 3 little tips today. A big thank you for your time, Colm, and yeah, I hope you, the listener or the viewer, have picked up some nice little bits of advice. Then you go on to have a great day. Thank you. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.